Hello. Welcome to today's Instagram Live. Today we're going to be talking about what it means to be all in on your mission and your life. So this theme came to me this morning as I was doing what I do every morning, which is my morning meeting with God, where I take time to tune in, to ask for divine guidance, and to really hold space to receive what it is that I'm meant to be transmitting. This is a practice that I've been doing for many years. It's what I teach in all of my programs and teaching people how to do it in their own way. And when I held space for that divine guidance to come in this morning, what I heard was go do an Instagram Live today about what it means to be all in on your mission. So that's what we're going to be doing. Welcome to everybody who is here live. You're welcome to say howdy and ask any questions as I'm going. And welcome to everybody who is on the replay. So what does it mean to be all in on your mission? This is a phrase that you may actually have heard quite a bit, right? You may be in certain circles of the internet where people talk a lot about being all in and being committed and taking the leap. And I want to ground us into what this really means and why it matters. If you are someone who has a deep knowing within yourself that you're here to make the world a better place by being yourself, that you are here to play a really important role during this time of great change in a way that only you can. The quote that came to mind as I was receiving this message today of share this on Instagram Live was a quote from Revelations, which is about God is saying to people, because you are lukewarm, you're neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out. Basically, I can't commune with you. And religious programming aside, there is a real truth within this message about these are times that call us to be who we are, to not be wishy-washy, to not be lukewarm about the things that we are ready to be really clear about. And it can seem sometimes quite simple to say, no, this is what I care about. This is what my life is organized around. But when we're being called to higher levels of mastery, service, creation, there are often gradations of lukewarm energy that are showing up in the way that we're approaching our work, the way that we're approaching our life that is directly impacting the results that we're getting. So this conversation is also especially for, one, those who know that they're here to shine their light and be of service during this time of great change, and especially for those who feel that sense of I am being called forward. There is another level for my service and my life, and I'm not there yet, and maybe I have some level of confusion or justification of a kind of stagnation or delay. I'm wondering, why am I not there yet? Maybe you're telling yourself a story that it's just not your divine timing yet, or something else needs to be fixed or arranged before you can take the next step. This is a message for you, and it's really for those who are feeling the call as we approach 2025, as we approach this next level of shock and transformation on the planet. Those who know somewhere within yourself, I have been playing small in some way. I have been less on fire for what I'm actually on fire about than I could be, and I'm ready to make a shift. So when we speak about being all in, the next metaphor or example that I want to bring through, and I'm glad this is resonating, Natalie, thank you for sharing, is from the Gene Keys. There's in Gene Key 29, it goes from the shadow of half-heartedness to the gift of commitment. And then the city, the divine gift, the higher expression is devotion. And something that Richard Rudd talks about in this Gene Key is that 99% committed is as good as 0% committed. If there is a part of you that has a toe outside of what you're saying you're about, what you're saying that you're actually going to be doing with your life, what you're saying matters to you, then you might as well not be committed, right? We can think about this in the context of relationships. You're either married, deeply committed, doing life together, or any amount of that door's cracked a little bit and you're not totally sure and you're not showing up all in. That does not allow that container to move forward. So when you think about your mission, you think about giving your gifts, you think about transforming the world through your contribution and transforming your life, right? Becoming that living example of what life can be like when we say yes. We've got our animal ally here. When we say yes to what really matters to us, when you think about that, where is there a part of you, perhaps, that is only at 99%? Is there a part of you that has a little piece of your energy, a little piece of your commitment, not all the way in? And this is especially relevant if you feel like things are not moving forward. So we'll use the relationship example. It's like if two people are coming together and they're here to divinely co-create together, but one of them is like, yeah, I'm in this, but whether or not they're looking at other people or they're not actually in full commitment to that co-creation. Literally nothing can actually move forward. The coming together of that energy for whatever that shared mission and co-creation is, it cannot occur. So if you have felt like you're putting in energy, you're wanting your stuff to come forward, you're wanting things to move forward, and you're like, why is it not happening? Looking at, where am I wobbling? Where am I still keeping another door open of my old life, other possibilities, rather than what I know my soul is really calling me to do? And I'm going to put a caveat in here before we continue, which is that everybody's all in and everybody's path and everybody's commitment looks different, right? And this is something I teach very deeply in all of my containers. We're always balancing that inner and that outer work. We're always balancing, where can we be strategic? Where can we use our beautiful minds to understand the path that we're meant to take or our next right actions? And also, how are we looking at our divine design, our human design? How are we learning how to allow God to guide us to what is actually correct for us? Because it's different for everybody. So, and that's part of what we're talking about here, is that there's a path that only you can walk, and the next steps and the fruits of that path will not reveal if you are being half-hearted and you're waiting for life to give you more before you have given life more. So I'm going to share an example here, which is in a group coaching program, a mastermind that I ran this year. It was all about stepping forward into this next level of mission. Everybody who came together was like, I know that God is calling me forward. I know that there's a higher level of my gifts. And in the mastermind spaces that I host, it's always about mission and business. It's always about, okay, we're here for this. There's a higher energetic reality to what we're doing. And in this current dimension, we are generally structuring that within a business, within an organization, within a system of value exchange, creating offers, products, things like that. And this wonderful soul who was in this program came to me basically saying, like, no one's really signing up for my stuff. And I'm starting to put my message out there, but people aren't really responding. And like, it was this feeling of, how could I put myself out there more if I don't know if any results are actually going to come from that? And what am I doing wrong, or what's going to change this? Because like, I care about my work, and she does amazing work, which I'll keep it super high level to keep her anonymous. But she does amazing work that's very important for the world right now. but she was having a kind of lukewarm, wobbly reaction from the people in her life. People inquiring, then like, I don't know if I want to do this program. I don't know if this is for me, right? Kind of crickets when she was putting stuff out. And when we finally got down to it, about 6 weeks into this container, and I had been asking her, like, where's your commitment? Are you all in on this? And she was in contemplation. And then finally, she came to one of our sessions and she was like, holy cow, guys, I haven't been committed. I've still been keeping this door open, and I've still been waiting for a higher level of accolades, reaction, encouragement from the outside world before I really show up and I give it my all. And this is about a tangible thing related to the action of what she was doing, right? The content she was putting out, the program she was offering, but it was primarily initially about the energy. And so I took her through a process of crossing the threshold, of calling her energy out of, you can think about someone who's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Can't see my feet, but I'm doing it. 1 foot in, 1 foot out of, across a doorway. And if this medicine is not for you right now, this may feel kind of like splitting hairs, or it may just feel ungrounded or not relevant to you. But if it is for you, you may sense within yourself where there's a back door open, where there's I'm waiting for just one more thing, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more evidence, a little bit more clarity, right? And clarity, by the way, I've learned from my amazing beloved Christina, who was a Gene Keys genius. Clarity is a city in the Gene Keys, right? It is an enlightened state, right? So I'm waiting for this enlightened state of total clarity before I move forward, right? And I'm waiting to feel more confident. I'm waiting to feel less held back by my past. And I'm so glad to hear this is resonating, right? I'm waiting for more money, more time, more whatever, the perfect circumstances before I do what I know is mine to do, which again is an action. There are actions that are being shown to you, but it's also an energy, right? And I see this especially with people who are earlier, and it happens in the spiral, because it can happen when you're first starting out, when you're first saying, I'm activating my gifts and I'm actually online, soul in the body, God on the mic, telling me where to go, and launching into service and creation for the first time. It can also happen when you've had a season of service and then you go into what I call a mission winter, right? Where things kind of decay, you compost, and then you're being called forward again. And so you're back in that spring energy of, okay, I'm coming out of the cave. Like, think about if you've ever had a northern hemisphere winter. It feels a little uncomfortable when the sun starts to shine again, even though you're excited about it. You feel a little creaky, maybe. There's a kind of getting your momentum and getting your energy back. So it can happen in every point in that process that we often cycle around and around and around again, which is something I teach in my mission space. And when people are in that point, and they know that they're meant to be making more money from sharing their gifts, which is synonymous in the correct architecture with having more impact, right? Helping more people. They know that their life is supposed to be with a higher level of vitality. But then if we actually ground in and we look, where in your life, how is your life now reflecting that you're a new person? How is your life, how are your commitments, the allocation of your energy on a moment-by-moment basis and on an overall structural level, how is your life indicating that that is actually important to you, right? Or are you hoping, waiting, saying, why isn't God sending me more clients? Or, it doesn't seem like people are that interested in what I'm doing. It's like, are you interested? Are you on fire about what you're doing? And are you holding a posture in your life that is saying, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm about. Which again is energy, and also action. Nina's joking, waiting for more outside in instead of inside out. It's both, right? And that's something that I'm emphasizing. There was a season of my work where I was on the mic more about inside out, right? It was a season where the people I was working with needed that medicine more than the more structure, more strategy, all of that. And now I'm in this next season that I'm in, which has already begun, is really equal parts faith and works. That's something that we're doing in God is My Boss right now, which is deepening that inner foundation, learning how to hear the voice of God, learning how to hear the voice of infinite intelligence moving through you, how to get into what the I Ching calls the stream of life with a purpose and let it take you where you are meant to go. Right? And deconditioning from all the stories, all the ideas of who you think you're supposed to be, so you can actually be who you're here to be. Right? Lots of really deep inner work, the subconscious alignment, the energetic alignment, and then also the outer work. What are the strategies? Learning about business, right? Not just telling the story that all business is messed up and you're just going to go with the flow. Right? Learning, how do I take the tools that are available and make them my own, right? How do I discern with that inner guidance where I'm being called, what structures I'm actually being called to create and build and steward, right? Even, that balance of structure and flow is so important. I'm thinking about, I have a background in permaculture. When you're building a food forest, which eventually looks like this wild, beautiful ecosystem that is so fertile and producing so much fruit, you have to plan it. There's a level of planning, and then there's a level of surrender. There's a level of the inner and the outer. This is something that I'm also going to be taking people even deeper into in my 2025 Mission Mastery Mastermind. This is something that I have received the divine call to do, to create a year-long container for people who are all in. And I'm going to have a few more points about being all in that I want to share. But I want to share this invitation with you as well. Mission Mastery is for the leaders, the creators, the people who know I need to step 2 feet into a container of support, into a timeline of my life where I have no choice but to make this next year a year of great impact, a year of expanded impact, income, fulfillment, service, creativity, confidence, authentic expression. And as I'm speaking, if this is resonating with you, if you're feeling, yes, this is me, I know that 2025 is a year where I cross a point of no return in terms of the caliber of my service, in terms of not just dabbling and kind of going with the flow, giving my gifts here and there, but actually building something that serves in a longer term way, where I go from wondering if I really have what it takes to either share my gifts for the first time or go to the next level, wonder if God's going to make this happen for me, to I am making this happen for me with God now. If that is where you are, then you can send me a DM to inquire for more information about Mission Mastery. It's by application or invitation only. It's going to be a really curated small group. And if you feel the call, send me a message and I'll share information and we can feel into whether it would be the right fit for you. So, and in Mission Mastery, every month we're doing this equal parts inner and outer. We're doing deeper training. So going to the next level beyond what's covered in God is My Boss, on business, on how do we create sacred structure? How do we discern what form our multidimensional gifts are actually meant to take? Right? What form does the world need them in, and what form is going to nourish us the most? Right? And then also doing that inner work to become the next version of who we are, and to always have at the forefront this seek ye first the kingdom perspective, which is not a religious perspective. It is the understanding that it is an inside out world. This is an inside out job. Right? Anything that we seek, including the most altruistic Mother Teresa, I want to save the world and help everybody. And I know that there are many of you in my squad who feel that way, because right, that's a big part of my coding as well is just this desire to give, to share, to create, to serve, right? That, even with that, the most altruistic desire to serve, what form of those gifts is actually going to be the most nourishing for you, the most nourishing for the people that you're helping, and how do we steward those gifts in a way that is for the highest good of all. So if you want to learn more about Mission Mastery, you'll know, this is one of those things where it's a sacred squad assembling and you're feeling, okay, yes, this is the level of support that I want. Oh, and the Seek Ye First the Kingdom line, I want to track back to that. And it's Seek Ye First the Kingdom is understanding that no matter what we want to do outside in this beautiful world around us, it starts from within, right? This is that seat of the soul, that seed of God consciousness within us, from which everything else emerges, right? From which that impact actually gets created. And we can be people whose energy transforms the world, again, from the inside out, in moving us into aligned action rather than running around trying to fix things and move things around without that energetic core that is actually going to allow that change to occur. Awesome, Nina. Really interested. How large will the group be? The group will be, the exact number will be determined by divine design as we see who's like the field of resonance and who's actually meant to come together. I'm seeing it right now between 12 to 20 people. So we're going to keep it at a level where it's a diverse enough group where you get to learn from each other, where you're going to see yourself. I mean, what unlocks when you get to see other people coached through similar things, especially, and even when you're like, this person's life is different than mine. I don't know if what they're going through is going to pertain to me. I experience this as a facilitator and also as someone who goes into other masterminds and mentorships where there's so much breakthrough in watching, because we're all just mirroring each other, right? Watching other people be coached and also receiving the medicine and the inspiration, right? Seeing, wow, that's how that person is giving their gifts. Wow, that's how they're translating what they're doing, and getting to have that sort of soul fractal, to use a Gene Keys term, co-creation field where everybody's totally sovereign and eyes on their own paper, as my teacher says, going to where they're going, and at the same time being encouraged. Just like when you're on a hike, everybody has to walk themselves, but you're also encouraging each other. And this is going to be a squad that's devoted, because we're doing this for a year, right? And we're saying, I want to be in a container that's going to carry me through this, so much transformation, so much change on the planet. And we're going to keep it so it's big enough that we have that co-creative, inspiring energy, and it's small enough that everybody's going to feel like they have a direct line to me and they have my direct mentorship. This is going to be the most accessible way to receive my direct guidance and mentorship in 2025. The only other way to do that is in a much higher level one-on-one container. So within Mission Mastery, every month we're having deep dive hot seats and Q&A, and then we're also doing office hours. And my policy in office hours is any question that gets asked, you get a direct reply. So you'll be able to see the feedback I'm giving to other people, but you'll also be able to have, my eyes on what you're working on. And if you've ever been in a Q&A type environment in other programs with me, typically in a non-mastermind container, it's more of a question being asked and I'm giving maybe a 10-minute response, doing a little coaching based on the information that's given in the space. This is going to be you submitting information about your business ahead of time, about what you're working on ahead of time, me having eyes on your design, your human design, Gene Keys, astrology, and us having these deeper dive hot seats where you really have a coach in your corner for what you're moving through. So if there's any other questions coming through about Mission Mastery, please feel free to ask them. And I want to share, I feel like there's a few more things I want to share about being all in and what it means and why it matters. Why does it matter to be all in? Hydration break here. So the other reason, like the big reason why being all in, which is an energetic choice, it's a devotional choice about how we're spending our time. It's a identity shift of who we're being. It's starting from the inside out to create a new experience for ourselves. And it's about the choices that we're making. Part of why this matters so much is that if we have a dream, if we have a desire to have a new experience in our lives, higher impact, higher income, right? All those things that feel like the little dangling carrots or the big heart desires that are just out of reach, but they're present, right? You think about them often. We will end up in a loop where it's always just out of reach because we're waiting for something more to confirm in front of us that it's okay to step forward instead of stepping forward and then allowing the thing to become a natural part of our reality, right? So a lack of progress often has to do with commitment, right? I was speaking with someone who's considering joining Mission Mastery, who's in an earlier, she's in a mid-level stage of bringing her offers forward, and I could see, right, whether or not she does Mission Mastery, that there was this divine invitation for a higher level of commitment and a higher level of consistency. And I'm going to show up and put the reps in on my inner work and my outer creation. And I could see the timeline where if she didn't do that, she was going to, within a couple of months or within the year, have a feeling of like, I kind of went with the flow. Like I just kind of went with the flow and I was like open to more things unfolding, but more of what Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan call a 2X in their book 10X is easier than 2X, more of a 2X, like a little bit of growth rather than there's a before and after moment here where, again, I'm no longer wondering, am I going to be a person who's fully resourced by my business, or is my business that's already resourcing me going to go to the next level, going to create the movement, the impact that I know that it can? I'm going to, like, am I going to still be asking that question, or am I going to be living in the solution? Because part of what happens when we dawdle, however unconsciously, on the threshold, am I going to do it? I am doing it, but am I really doing it? Is that once we decide, and this is part of why we don't decide, but once we decide, right, and decide, right, the side, I forget the exact etymology of it, but think about like, any type of like homicide, right? To end a life. There's a kind of ending and a cutting off when you decide. You're saying something new is beginning. And when we cross that threshold, we have to do our work. There's a whole pile of work, like a whole stack of work, inner and outer work that awaits you when you finally decide. Think about if you're like, oh, I want to study this subject. And then when you finally are like, okay, I'm going to study the subject, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to take this program. Well, damn, I got some work to do, right? I've got this whole curriculum I have to work through now. There's this, it's like, do I want to build a house? Do I not want to build a house? Okay, I'm going to build a house. Now I got to build the house. Like I got to learn a lot of different things. And so when we say yes, and this is also what will knock people so freaking sideways that they'll lose the plot for quite some time. And this is, I emphasize this so strongly in all of my containers. When we say yes, and we're like the fool in the tarot, we're like, yes, I'm going to share my gifts. Like, yes, I'm going to reach this new level of abundance and impact and satisfaction and fulfillment in my life. And we're striding into the new, and we have this like moment of great joy and elation. I'm doing it, right? We get such a dopamine hit when we say we're going to do something. And then we get hit with all the stuff that's in the way, right? We get hit with, oh my God, if I'm going to make more money, then I have to learn about money. I have to deal with this fear inside of me. I have to deal with this ancestral thing. I got to learn X, Y, and Z. I need to deepen my craft in these different ways. We get hit with all of the stuff that is the reason that we aren't where we want to be. right? And we can kind of avoid that work by saying, I'd love to be somewhere different, but not 2 feet in saying, I'm crossing the threshold. This is what I'm committed to. And I'm going to make a note because there's one other point that I want to make here. But I want to land this point about what comes up when we commit. It's everything that's in the way, and it all often looks like a death before it looks like a birth, right? So we set the intention, and then if it's a really solid intention, some version of hell breaks loose, whether it's just a lot of emotion coming up, whether it's, all of a sudden this client is leaving, or something's going on with my house, or, there's everything that was set. There was no reason for it to change before. Everything that was holding you at the level that you were at, why would it change if you weren't all in and committed to something different? But then as soon as you're all in, it all starts to come up, right? And so that's also why I believe very strongly in, and I continue to answer the call to hold spaces, right? To create containers like Mission Mastery and other containers that I hold, where people can be supported by a coach, by a mentor who understands this through the dissolution and the rebirth. Because if it's a really big goal, a lot falls away, right? A whole version of you dies. A whole version of you becomes obsolete. And creation starts with destruction in that way, right? So if there's a big next level coming, it looks like the old level being deleted. Just like if you want to build a house, but there's a previous house on that plot of land, you have to remove that house. You have to demolish it before you can build the new house. So that's what happens. And we have to have the fortitude to stick with it and say, my house is now falling apart because I'm building a new house, not my house is falling apart, I must have done something wrong, let me scurry back and just kind of stabilize things the way they used to be. So this is high level energetic alchemy, and it's also what the entire world is going through right now. So your capacity to move through a transformational process in your own life and in your own mission, it is a skill that I truly believe is required for anyone who is a God-led leader, anyone who is choosing to create and serve in this new era, in this new emergence, which is still very much underway, this bridge between old and new. Right? We have to understand how the true cycle of true transformation occurs, which is not just this surface level renovation that we're really used to in a world that's just like, quick fix, just tidy this up and we're just going to upgrade this and 48 hours, 2 business days, off we go. Right? And this process can happen quite quickly. There is its own divine timing a bit, but there is a dissolution that occurs. But within that dissolution, God is making space for what is coming next. And this is a training for the greater things yet to come, right? If you're here and I want to make a huge impact, I'll raise my hand, right? I'm on my way, but I'm in some ways just in the early chapters of what my soul would love to do in this life. It's a training, right? We're learning how to, sometimes I joke about having faith PRs, like a personal record in weightlifting. We're training to be able to hold more of the tension between bigger gaps, we're here, but I want to be here. This is the current status quo, but I would love for this invention to exist. I would love for this new reality to exist. We're learning how to do that. And 101 level is the faith to do things in God's creational flow rather than the world's creational flow. The world's like, great, you want to have this? We're just going to prescribe it. Here's the easy steps. And you can just, exactly what to expect every step of the way. And for God's flow, it's we set the GPS and then it is a mystical, wild ride between where we are and where we're going, because it's literally a dimensional shift. It's like going through a wormhole. It's like going through just a transformation portal where everything that is not a match to where you're going gets removed. And once you become more familiar with this process, and I know many of you listening are familiar in some way with it, but I wanted to hit the basics and the foundation today, it starts to be fun, right? When I set a big intention and then, whoa, this is coming up or this is changing, I celebrate it because I understand that a process is in motion, that life is rearranging at my command, at my choice. But it wouldn't start if I just wanted it to change, but I wasn't stepping all the way in and saying it is going to change. And I want to tie up one last loose end here, because I was speaking at the beginning about a wonderful mission soul who was in my mastermind this year, my group coaching experience, and who was wondering, like, when am I going to start getting better results in my work? When are people going to stop questioning whether it's worth it? When are people going to be excited to step in? And we identified that she was 1 foot in the old, that she hadn't fully stepped in. And when we did an energetic process to call all of her energy into the new, to close that old timeline, and then to set her free to move forward. And she made some commitments of, this is what all in means to me. These are the actions that I know that I need to take. This is the way I know I need to carry myself and think about myself now. She's off and running. I'm getting her emails now. She's doing all kinds of great stuff. And there's still a process underway, but she's getting that response where people are starting to recognize her and say, I love what you're doing, right? Because she's actually doing it, right? Because she's, another way to think about it is like a pop-up shop versus a brick and mortar store. Some of you are running your missions like a pop-up shop. Ooh, every once in a while it's up. Never know when you're going to catch it, right? Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm there, sometimes I'm playing an old version of myself. I forgot the pop-up shop even existed. And then there's a solidity of, I am available. This is open for business. And I'm speaking about this energetically in a way that then translates tangibly. And the next layer of this is when I speak about being all in and being committed, right? So again, from the Gene Keys perspective, going from half-heartedness to commitment to this higher level of devotion. All in versus wobble is correlated to actions, right? It's correlated to, if you're all in and you're going to build a house, you need to start doing some things. You need to drop the blueprints. You need to start looking at tile. You need to talk to the contractor, right? There's actions you need to take. But there's a deeper all in. There's a deeper all in that is what inspired this live today, which is my own devotion to my daily practice, tuning in with God and asking to be guided. So for some, you actually may feel like you're really committed. You're like, no, I'm showing up, I'm doing it. But why isn't it working? For you, there may be a deeper layer where you are kind of beating the drum of, this is what needs to work. I've decided that this is exactly what my mission is. This is exactly what my service is, my business. And so I'm just going to do it. And you're in an overexpressed masculine. You're in an overexpressed external, linear, just get it done, which is the old system, right? The new is a balance, is a harmony, is a union of both. And if that's where you're at, where you're like, no, I'm in, but why am I not receiving the correct results? God may have a deeper plan for you. It could be as simple as a little tweak in messaging, which we'll get into in Mission Mastery, or it could be as big as, wow, all this energy, all this way you're doing your work, it actually wants to dissolve and reform into something new. And that something new will be finger on the pulse of the highest vitality for your life. It will be the path to everything that you're hoping for, everything that you would like to be experiencing. So this devotion is also about this constant listening and this knowing. It's a capacity to hold paradox. There's some people who may just feel like what I'm saying right now doesn't make any sense, right? But at a higher level or a deeper level, or just the level that we're on, wherever that is, this frequency, there is the paradox of, you're given very clear instruction. You're here to create very clear and specific things. And at the same time, you're an artist. You are a creator being created through by the creator. And there is a mutability, a flexibility, an evolution, because life is always responding to life. So you could have had, this is my divine assignment, I'm going to do it, I'm going to build this whole thing 2 years ago, and now it feels brittle and lifeless, and you're just beating that drum and you're trying to just execute. And God's like, yo, if you would stop for a minute, drop in, cultivate the capacity to actually listen to life, you would hear, we have a slight adjustment for you. Your mission has been pivoted. What the collective actually needs now is this. What's going to be more nourishing and life-giving for you is this. Again, could be as simple as the price point for this needs to change, the name needs to change, the way that, a subtle way of how you're doing it needs to change, or maybe something bigger where it's like, hey, actually, it's now time for you to make that movie that you wanted to make that you totally forgot about because it was your biggest dream, but you decided to do something more practical, right? So there's a listening that's part of this as well. And this is within Mission Mastery, which is this mastermind that I'm bringing together for 2025 for folks who know that you're here to go to that next level of your service, your creation, your business. We're going to be doing that balance of, moving in the physical, taking action, building things, receiving training and support on the strategic components, understanding business at a deeper level, and at the same time, listening, because the data is here, the information is here, but we have to learn how to interpret it, right? And we have to keep our finger on the pulse, because otherwise, again, it's like we're running off with instructions that may be expiring. We're not letting life continue to enervate. That's an interesting word that just came. To enervate, to revitalize what it is that we are creating. So I want to take a moment and look at the comments here. If there's questions coming up, you're welcome to ask them. I'm going to take a look at the questions in the comments. I'm going to feel into if there's anything else I want to share, and then we're going to start to wrap it up. Someone says this message came in great timing for what I'm experiencing and internally going back and forth about regarding a relationship. Yeah. And there's a time and a place for contemplation, right? And for considering, because sometimes we're in a back and forth because it's just different versions of our lower selves. Like, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that. In my experience though, an all in saying, I am all in on my destiny path. God, do with me what you will. This is, I say my third step prayer every single day. God, I offer my life to you to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, my small self, my conditioned self, that I may better do your will, that I may better participate in the flow of life, that I may better be who I really came here to be. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of your power, your love, and your way of life. So make me a testimony, right? Help me heal. Help me get over my stuff. Help me become more and more of a liberated being. And in doing that, I promise that I will pass those gifts on. Right? Let me be who I'm truly here to be. And when you hear what I'm saying, it's like you can feel it's mental, right? There's a kind of sort of truth clarity, but it's also heart, right? So out of the, do I do this? Do I do that? I'm not sure, is I surrender to the flow of life, and my highest priority is that. My highest priority is my destiny. And so let anything that is misaligned with that fall away, and let everything that is part of that, let it emerge. Right? That type of foundational prayer, which is what I teach in Mission Space and God's My Boss and all of my containers, that kind of foundational prayer resets the entire framework of your life, creating clarity on some of these questions and also rendering obsolete some of these questions because you've drawn a line in the sand. Again, not from a mental place of I should either be with this person or not, or do this business or not, but more of this, I'm letting the field of my life rearrange, and I'm embracing whatever's here in front of me while it's here, and I'm asking every single day. This is also not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing devotional of keep me on track with life. Keep me in the flow, right? So I'm just going to see any other questions or comments here about being all in on your mission and why it matters. It matters if you want to have an impact, if you want your income to be an expression of your gifts, right, of your soul's song, right, if you want to not be giving your life force to institutions and systems that don't resonate with you, then looking at where you are being half-hearted with yourself and what you care about, that is one of the biggest unlocks. And then making a choice. For some of you who are listening to this right now, it is going to be mission mastery. You're going to say, actually, being in this container for all of 2025 is really going to support me. For others of you, it's going to be something else, right? You're going to draw that line. You're going to be in someone else's container. You're going to be in a container just with yourself and God. It's going to look different. But saying, how am I going to move different? And how am I going to show up not as the me, again, who's hoping and wishing and praying that something will change, but as the me who is the change? That's a very important question to be asking. If you don't really care about everything we're talking about here and life feels pretty good and there isn't a higher level of service and creation calling to you, then this will be less relevant. But if it is, it's very, very relevant. So I'm just going to look at these other comments here. Someone saying the issue in this current relationship has been a gift from God, so I've been struggling to let it go, but I need to trust that there's another one that's also God gifted. Everything's a gift from God. Literally everything is a gift from God. Everything is here for your awakening, and everything comes from creation and comes from God. So yeah, and as Florence Scovel-Shinn says, bring me the divine equivalent. That which you lose will be returned in a higher form, but it cannot come in a higher form if you don't let go of the old. Right? If you don't let go of the way things have been, the comfort. And I see people making their cozy little nests in the super uncomfortable comfort zone for so long. And I don't often pull out that kind of Tony Robbins energy of, rise and shine out of your comfort zone. Let's get it going. But there is a time for that. And as we go into 2025, which, by the way, today's the last day for early bird tickets for my Changing of the Guard 2025 forecast. I'm going to be talking about getting really into what the energy is calling us into. It's a lot more fire. It's a lot more, you got to be about what you're about, right? Which isn't about polarization. It isn't about fighting people. It isn't about overexpressed, look at me. It's just about having that fire within you, guiding you. It's about stoking your own vitality, focusing your own energy on what you really care about, and knowing that anywhere that you are energizing that does feel expired, that you're holding on to because it's the best you've ever had, or it's just become familiar, it's become comfortable. The willingness to put it down is what unlocks everything new, right? Some of you know my story in terms of when I first really stepped onto my path and gave my life to God. The divine demolition is what I call it, because it was everything got taken. It was like every little thing I was holding on to got taken until it was me unable to pay rent, eating a can of practically expired chickpeas, with no job, my partner of 3.5 years gone, most of my friends gone, because it was an old life. It was literally like that reality was comprehensively crumbling away, and I would not be here on Instagram Live sharing what I'm sharing. I would not be holding space at the level that I'm able to hold space now, serving, creating, refining my creations, in the dojo of my own life, always working to go to a higher level, not from some false achiever standpoint, but from the love of the game, the movement of creation. None of that. And my beautiful partner and the life that we're creating, right, met her 4 years into being devotedly single and holding space for the person I was truly meant to be co-creating with. Everyone's timeline is different, but that was mine. None of this would be happening if I hadn't let go of what was done. And also, it's a divine co-creation, right? So you being willing to let go of something is the unlock. There are some things you may not have to let go of. I've placed friends on the altar and said, God, if this person's not supposed to keep going with me, I let it go. I'm going to stop clinging. and then they come back around, right? And then we keep growing together. I've had that with many different things in my life, but it's a posture. Again, seek ye first the kingdom. Cling not to anything that is outside of that seed of the soul within you, and then all else will be added unto you, right? All that is meant for you will come to you, but you have to be you. You have to keep letting the life within you evolve you and transform you. Otherwise, you'll stagnate with the cast of characters that's been at that level with you. Glad this is resonating. I'm going to hold space for a few more comments or questions, and then we're going to wrap this up. 2025 is going to be a big pivot. It's going to be a big upgrade. It's like the first glimpse of the real true new. And we're going to still be cleaning up the old, but for some people who've just felt like you've been at a level of kind of waiting, stagnation, there's a fire coming to say it's your time, especially if you're like, I don't see a context for my gifts in the world. Who's going to buy this? Who's going to resonate with this? More and more people, right? Think about yourself. Think about 10 years ago, would you be watching this Instagram live and engaged and understanding what I'm talking about? 10 years ago, would I? Probably not, right? Maybe just starting, but the world is transforming. And so there's a kind of shedding of the identity of playing small, shedding of the identity of no one cares about what I'm doing, shedding of the identity of I'm this like starving monk artist waiting for my time. Now is your time. And it's always your time. It's always your time in the now moment. And there's actually nothing holding you back. And in this great change that we're in, there is a really beautiful energetic unfolding where the tide, the current is trending towards authenticity, towards vulnerability, and towards ingenuity, right? Think about how many things that how specific you are now with the things that you love, right? You're not just like going to have any old therapist. You're not just going to have any old friend. You're looking for a higher level of resonance. You're not just going to buy any old apple, right? It's got to be organic, local, whatever it is. Think about where you're getting more and more specific. Your people are also getting more specific, and they specifically are here for you, right? Which is not about saving anybody, but it is about playing your part. I see this all the time, right there. I see the connection between the moves I make and then the people I'm serving, right? The things that they're praying for, the position I'm put in to provide that, and then the position they're put in to answer other people's prayers based on that co-creation. And then also same thing with my mentors as they offer things, as they say, hey, you want to do this? You want to jump into this mastermind? You want to do this training? And I say, yes. It's like I expand, my people expand. We're all expanding together. Let me take a look. How do you catch the lukewarm wobbles sooner? How do you catch them now? Let's not worry about the future. Where are you wobbling right now? And how can you tend to that? And daily practice as a protection is very, very effective in my experience, where if you're every day in that devotion, and sometimes you get that God drop, like I got today, get on live and do this transmission that I'm doing right now. Other times you get a little hit, you forget about it, you write it down, it comes back around, right? It's the practice though. It sets your energetic field in a way that starts to hone you in. And even just asking, where am I wobbling in my life? Starting to ask that question. Where am I acting like I'm not sure if this matters to me? Where am I wasting my energy? That's another huge thing. It's like if we're not getting the results that we want, where are we watering someone else's garden or just an irrelevant garden? Christina and I are always talking about this. It's like we'll see, we have a strong practice in our relationship and in our home of like, is that worth my breath? Is that worth my focus? Yeah, that would be a funny joke. Yeah, that would be like a funny little side conversation about something. But what are we really doing here, right? And it's not about not having fun or, exploring or whatever, enjoying life, but it is about what really matters. And if I'm here to create, I got to be focused. right? I gotta drive my energy towards the things that matter most. It's like if I'm here to grow a certain garden and I have a certain amount of water for that garden, which is my energy, and I go around watering other people's gardens, then the thing that's mine, the realm that I'm stewarding, is going to be less fertile. So let me see some other questions. I got a question from Nina here. There's a piece for me around business models, and what we have understanding or experience in might not be the best business model for us. I've been curious if God knows all the possibilities. Well, God does know all the possibilities because God literally is infinite possibility. God is the all. So that's why God is my boss. That's why I literally live that lifestyle. And I also teach that in God is my boss, because it is, and for those that don't know, God is my boss, I'm currently teaching it live, and it's the curriculum is, it's not just 1.0 to 2.0, even though that's what I've been calling it. It is a real exponential next level of the teachings, because I have trained and learned enough to be able to do that now, and I know that my people need it. And so God's got the way, and there is a way for us, and we're going to go into this in Mission Mastery. We're going to do one of our monthly transmissions will be on business models, will be on retiring your ideas of what it's supposed to look like, receiving training and context to understand, okay, here are different ways that I could be doing this, and then dropping into a deeper level of what is the divine design? What am I truly bringing forward? What is the energy of it? And therefore, what does that tell me about the form that it's meant to take, right? And I think that it's a very important conversation to be having, and it's also a very important conversation to not get caught on, right? We can get really stuck in the preparation. This is cross of planning stuff for those of you who are human design people. We'll talk about this more in Changing of the Guard, my 2025 forecast, right? We're in the last 2 years, 3 years, 2.5 of the cross of planning, which is where we could plan everything out, right? We could say, this will lead to this. And now we're stepping into an energy where things reveal in a different way. And I've seen plenty of people sit on the sidelines, not giving their gifts, when simply stepping in and trying different ways would have moved them forward. And also kind of holding the question of I don't know the right model as a subconscious, lukewarm thing that's saying, I don't know enough to move forward. As soon as I know my business model, then I'll move forward. When actually right now in the infinite all now moment where everything is, with a deeper dropping in, something could reveal, right? The obvious next step could reveal, dropping out of the kind of lower mind, the kind of quotidian day-to-day Gemini little data in front of us mind, into the heart and into that higher intelligence. And we are here to completely innovate, right? That's the other thing. It's like every time I speak, all the time, and God is my boss, and this will certainly be a big caveat in Mission Mastery, is I know that there's a lot of benefit in teaching and learning certain systems to become familiar with options. It's like if you were going to build a house, you wouldn't just, some people are just going to get like the crazy download from God, this is what it needs to look like, and then their architect figures it out. Other people, especially if you're a generator, you're here to respond, right? You kind of taste things out. You're seeing, okay, what if I did it like this? What if I did it like that? You're feeling into your different options. And I'm always putting the caveat of, like, I'm going to give you my strategic perspective and my intuitive sense of what the direction is for you. And feel free to tell me I'm wrong and God told you to do something else. Are you still able to join God as My Boss? Right now, the live program of God as My Boss the container is closed. We're going to be running it again pretty soon in 2025. So if you're interested, send me a DM. Just send me a DM with the word God is my boss, and we'll get you on the wait list, and we'll make sure that if you want to do it, you get in there as soon as possible. Let me see other questions here. I feel like I saw one more. What's the best content of mind program you can start to incorporate the daily prayer that I mentioned? The best place to start is going to be, well, real talk. The best place to start is you could literally right now just decide that you're going to pick a surrender prayer and do it every day without ever engaging with any of my content ever again, right? That's available to you in this moment. If you want my deeper support, the way that I set up the structure, the way I help people design their daily routine, that's going to be in Mission Space, which is my resource library. It's in a membership format for people who are on the divine mission path. We have trainings in there, everything from clarifying your calling to learning more about your mission template, your design, to like really learning how to do this walk that I'm talking about, this day by day. Okay, I'm receiving my divine instructions, I'm going to the next level of my mission. That's the place where that happens, and the doors for that are going to open in about 3 weeks. After changing of the guard, they'll be opening. So on 12/12. So if that's of interest to you, just send me a DM, Mission Space, or just share a little bit about what you need support with, and we'll get you on the wait list so that you can know when that is opening up. All right, folks. Last call for questions before we wrap it up. I'm going to see if there's anything else I want to share here. Nina's asking, will God as my boss be part of the mastermind? That's a good question. The answer to that is that whatever foundational pieces from God as my boss that I end up feeling like people need for whatever conversation we're having in the mastermind, you will have access to, right? So whatever, we're going to that more advanced version of the teachings. And as I see where people are at as the group is coming together, we're going to make sure that we have whatever foundational trainings and pieces are necessary. Bethany says, submitted a question. I love being a healer and a giver, yet it has a negative impact on my body. How do I create boundaries so I can keep giving while staying healthy? That is a really big question. And what I would say is, like, drop into I need better boundaries and put out a prayer. God, who am I supposed to learn from? What is going to support me in having my energetic foundation in place? Because you can't keep giving if it's draining you, right? The level of Jedi stuff that I do before I get on a live or I get on a call, right? And afterwards, to clear my field, to be sovereign, to be able to show up, shine my light, be really connected to people, especially as a projector. It's like this direct connection with people, and then letting other people's energy be their own. And there's lots of practices you can do for that. And also it's a posture of no longer taking on, feeling responsible for other people's experience, right? Not bringing their energy through your system, being a mirror, giving them tools that they can do with what they will, and letting them be responsible for their own journey. That can sometimes be a big unlock, however subconscious for healers, where you're still carrying people without realizing it, and still feeling somehow like if you don't get them to a certain place, then you failed, rather than having a more correct understanding of the role that you're here to play for them. And that's a great example of the type of question that, if you were, that's the type of stuff we're going to dive into in Mission Mastery, like tending to, we'll have our monthly deep dive teaching transmissions on business and mission. We're having deep hot seats Q&A, and then also in the office hours, bringing through whatever it is that you need to go to that next level, right? Calling in the resources to support you in whatever's going to really make that difference, right? Because that's another great example of, I'm here to give my gifts, but I have this thing showing up that's keeping me from going to the next level, right? That's keeping me kind of in this box, in this limited place where I'm not able to serve more, right? And any type of limitation that shows up, it's here for our evolution. So either you're going to learn how to continue to interact more directly with people with better boundaries, or you're going to scale your business and you're going to offer your healing tools in a way that requires less direct interaction from you. And that's going to be amazing because it's going to reach more people and it's going to, increase both your impact and your income. All right, you're so welcome. Thank you everyone who's been chiming in, resonating with this conversation. We're going to wrap it up. This has been a transmission on being all in on your mission, on taking 2 feet, all of your energy into your new timeline so that whatever needs to fall apart can, whatever needs to reveal can, so that you can stop asking the question of what do I need to do to get there? When's it going to change? When is it possible for me to do this? Stopping asking that question and starting to live into the solution, right? It's like wondering if you're going to go on a hike versus I'm on the hike and I'm going to figure it out. We're in it, right? The train has left the station. And for a big cohort of mission souls, people who are here to serve during this great change in a way that is for the highest good of the collective, but also for the highest excitement of your soul, who's like, Christina calls it the spiritual Super Bowl. Right? Everybody's here. And it's go time, it's show time, right? And when we can get into that stream of life, we can get into that stream of creation, it's highly protective and highly invigorating for us, right? And it's really what we're craving, right? More so in some ways, even than the ultimate end result, there's a desire to be in the satisfaction of participating at this time, right? Rather than wondering if we can and kind of lingering on the sidelines. So I'm going to wrap this up. Few final logistics here. If you feel the call to Mission Mastery, which is the mastermind that I'm running in 2025 for people who are going to the next level of their mission and their business, you can send me a DM and receive the information about the details and how to apply. Today is also the last day for early bird tickets for Changing of the Guard, which is my 2025 forecast. That's happening on 12/12. Today is the last day for the half price early bird. You can send me a DM with the word forecast and my lovely internet elves will send you the link. And that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Taking a moment here just to close out this space, giving thanks for all that was transmitted, asking for easeful integration, and asking that your next right actions be made clear. If you had an aha moment from this, act on it now, right? Don't let the energy dissipate. Decide right now, this is what my aha moment is. This is what I just had a shift in consciousness about. And rather than just letting it stay here, because I now know this, because I can see this, I now do this and go take care of it. And when the replay is up, you can put it in the comments for extra celebration and accountability if that feels good for you. All right, folks, sending you all so much love, and I will see you soon. Take care.